Welcome to Wild Goose Illustration. I'm Goose, and today I decided to make a different video. I closed my iPad and decided to show you possibly the most important art medium that I take as reference in my digital work, and that is acrylic paint. I normally use a good acrylic paint brand, although this is possibly not the best option for professional artists. And over here you can see the colors that I use as base all the time. Titanium white, black, fire red, cerulean blue, cadmium yellow, and magenta. One of the first things to keep in mind when you paint is the drawing stage. You normally don't need a super detailed drawing before you start painting your picture. You basically need some simple shapes to define the space and all the main figures that you're going to be painting. In this case, I think the simplest, the best. Talking about brush strokes, I prefer using flat brushes, and possibly I try to use the biggest brush that I can use, making flat movements in different directions. When painting, basically in any kind of media, you want to have some expressive brush strokes and also some expressive colors. So you don't want to have a flat area anywhere. So even in a simple background, I'm going to use at least 2 or 3 colors to create an interesting background. In the first stages, in almost any kind of media, we use very wet applications. In this case, for my background, I'm adding a lot of white to the colors. Acrylic paint is a kind of media that has a short drying time. So when we use it on a canvas, we can put some water to give us some extra time. In this case that I'm using cardboard, putting water doesn't make any big difference, so I will just apply the wet paint the way it is. At the end, I want to have these kind of fuzzy squared waves all around the main picture. In the underpaint stage, you want to lay all of the basic colors that you want to show in your picture. Normally, at the end of the final picture, you will have at least a hint of the color that you put in this underpaint stage. You can also use this stage to mark the lines that you're going to paint later, but this is not really necessary. What I want to do in this stage is to apply all the mid-tones that I want for my pineapple. To add some unity, I want to put some of the colors that I see in the background. But also, this is a great stage to add some color abstraction. This is a stage in which you shouldn't limit yourself. You can even include some surprise colors that shouldn't be there, or that people don't expect to be there. Just let your heart take control. But even though I am trying to be free, I am thinking about complementary colors that could give a better impact in the picture. From this very early stage in the painting, we are already thinking about lights and shadows. So we are adding some hints of the light direction. Notice how I use my paint knives to create kind of a messy, texturized base, which is going to painting even more interesting. Now with this base, I can start my shading stage, in which I'm going to include the main shades and the main lights in the picture. To make it even more interesting and texturized, I want also to use my paint knives in this stage. Also notice how I am using some very thick paint in this stage. Basically because I want to include all of the texture that I can from this kind of paint. Painting this kind of repetitive patterns, like in a pineapple or in a palm tree, is a very good painting exercise. In this case, in the pineapple, you have to paint every rhombus of the pineapple, pretty much using the very same technique. So as you advance in the process, you can improve in your technique. And you don't need to think on very complex shapes. In this case, you are just painting rhombuses over and over again. Even in the darker area, you are going to change the value, but the technique is going to be exactly the same. In the green area, I divided the different leaves using a darker green, making sure that I made the base of every leaf a little bit darker than the rest, because this area is going to be a little bit more concealed than all the other parts. Later, I will start thinking about where this leafy part is getting the most light as I think about these planes. I hope this video gives you some ideas of how to paint with acrylic paint. This is a great paint media, and it is very similar to what you will find in digital media. So if you want to go from analogous to digital, I highly recommend practicing watercolor and acrylic paint. The way you apply them is very much the same way you apply digital painting. So if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and possibly you consider subscribing to the channel. And if you have any questions, don't forget to write them in the comment box. Bye!